everyone. In this video, I will be reviewing what participation in cycling looks like for people with T2 through T9 SCI. T2 through T9 SCI levels will present with increased endurance of intercostal muscles, typical motor function of upper extremities, and limited trunk stability.
Hi, my name is Ryan with Lone Star Paralysis Foundation. We're going to walk through a little bit of the ins and outs of a hand cycle. So this is a top end Force 3. It's a couple years old, but even the newest, updatedest ones are very, very similar. So we're going to go through kind of the equipment portion of it. We'll do the transfer portion of it and the positioning portion of it. So as far as the equipment goes, main thing is what we call the rear gear set, which is just 3 gears. And we have the front gear set, which on this particular bike is 9 gears. So we'll have 27 total. Here on our right pedal per se is our brake, which runs a cable down here to this disc. So it's disc brakes. You don't have the typical like pads that are on the wheel. So these are a little bit more dependable. And our gear shifters. So the positioning where you hold the pedal is important. For this one is for going uphill, and this one you pull to go downhill. So this one relieves the tension, this one adds more tension to it. This is all adjustable for the rider's hand and comfort level. We want to be able to make sure that they can hit both of those comfortably without it being in the way as you are going through your rotations. The backrest here is fully adjustable, so this can drop back down to be more of like a laying down position or a prone position. It also will come up a little bit further. We remove the cushion. There's also some tubing in here that you can slide this forward for people that have a little bit smaller stature. The stirrups up here are very important for comfort and positioning. So there's 2 little set screws. These can go forward and back, and also these stirrups here can be tightened and loosened depending on foot positioning and how we kind of want the rider to sit on the seat. Let's see, we've also got our parking brake here, and our derailleur for the rear gears is right here, so you can move through these 3, and then like I said earlier, this one gets you through the front 9. All right, as for transferring in and out of these, especially these lower hand cycles, there's a couple things to remember. We want to make sure that we don't use our gear setup as an anchor point, just because it's got a lot of movement to it, and this dampener down here keeps this front wheel kind of in a neutral position, even with the bike. So we want to try not to use that if possible, but there's plenty of other anchor points that we can use to make it easy for our riders. So I try to get my chair as close to the frame as we can and at a little bit of an angle, and that way we're not trying to fight over the frame of our chair or fight over the tire. So once I'm here, I can use the backrest as an anchor point, and I'll try to get my inside foot, if not all the way on the other side of the bike, as far over as we can. That way when we come down, we're not putting any kind of torque or weird bend into our knee, and we don't want to have any injuries before we actually set sail. So I'll get my foot over there as far as I can. I like to put my outside hand somewhere on my frame, and then my left hand, in this instance, as far down as I can. That way I just have a lower center of gravity and I can get my rear end down onto the seat. For some of our beginner riders, we can do the same thing with our inside hand, but if we can get our rear end somewhere on the backrest, then we can get there and slide down comfortably and it makes it a little bit easier. So got my hand on my frame, got my other hand down here on the bike, little push, and we'll slide down. And we'll try to make sure that these parking brakes are nice and locked in so the bike doesn't move in the middle of our transfer. Once we've got settled into the bike, we're going to get our feet up into these stirrups like we talked about earlier. So they're adjustable. This one's already set. But we're going to get our heel over the strap, and we want that strap resting on our Achilles. So we'll get both feet in. And ideally, we want to have just a little bit of bend in both of these knees. So we're there. That way we got a little bit of a bend when I'm all the way back. That way when I turn, our knees will give a little bit. And again, we don't put any unwanted torque or put our knees in a compromised position. So I got a strap here that I put across my thighs to keep my hips from rotating outward. And I have found this is beneficial just from a comfort level, and we want our legs and feet nice and straight with the bike. So once I'm settled, then when I turn, whichever way I turn, my knees are bending properly, and again, not to cause any injury. So once we're in, we want to line up our pedals at like full extension with our arms. We want our pedals to be about right here, a little bend in our elbow. We don't want to have to reach for it, especially with people that don't have any core. They're not going to be able to pull themselves forward to get all the way at full extension. And at the same time, when we're all the way back in our pedal, we don't want to be hitting our chest or our trunk or our thighs. Again, prevent injury. We don't want any friction points between our ankles in the bike or between our knees in the bike. So it's something to pay attention for before you become mobile on these things. All right, upon dismounting out of our hand cycles, we first want to make sure that our parking brake is nice and tight. We'll get our straps off here, and we'll get our feet out of our stirrups. And essentially, I want to get my chair in a point to where, like when we get in, we don't want to have to fight the frame, and we don't want to have to go over the wheels. So I have an open, no obstructions in between my seat and this seat. So again, we don't want to use our pedals as an anchor point. So I'm going to get the way that I'm transferring that arm, that hand, my right hand, and my left hand is going to go back here. So I get my opposite foot of where I'm transferring to, make sure that's in a spot where it's going to stay, and then I get my left hand up as high as I can, and we're going to do it in one foul swoop. 1, 2, 3. And try to get our rear end up as high as we can. And there's a one cheek rule. If you can get one cheek on, then you're good to go.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more information on outdoor recreation for people with SCI. See you next time.